technology should serve first us humans, citizens. And that was a very, I think, humbling moment for me, where I took that up. And as we speak right now, I support basically His Excellency, the Deputy Minister of Digital Policy, Research, and Innovation, with regards to the digital transformation of the nation. I act as the chairman of the Research Innovation Foundation of Cyprus, and also of the Interministerial Committee of R&D, which allows me to basically work with the young generations, our scientists, our researchers who are very passionate about changing the world.
Welcome to INNOV-8 Presents Entrepreneurs in Tech. Today we're delighted to have our guest, Demetris Skourides. Demetris, pleasure to have you, sir. He's the Chief Scientist of the Republic of Cyprus and a Presidential Advisor. And he also wears many hats. So we're going to dig into it in a minute. And he's also the Chairman. Demetris, if you don't mind, first of all, welcome to the show. And really pleasure to have you. And I know you were traveling. We were supposed to have it last week, but your schedule, I still would like to know, how do you manage all of this, traveling and running and being an advisor? And we're going to talk about all of that. If you don't mind introducing yourself to our audience who might not be familiar with you, so we can really dive into it, sir.
Thank you for having me, and good morning to all of you. As Bob said, my name is Demetris Skourides, and I act as the Chief Scientist for Research, Innovation, and Technology for Cyprus. What does a Chief Scientist do? A Chief Scientist essentially focuses on helping design policies, recommend policies to the President and to the Council of Ministers, in particular the Deputy Minister of Research Policy and Innovation of Cyprus, with regards to really developing our research institutions, our research ecosystem, our innovation ecosystem, and help create value for the future generations to come. Why is such a role important? The role is important because we often resort to doing too much research or engaging in research, fundamental research, disconnecting ourselves from the industry and I think the applied part of the world, bringing a role that acts as a CTO function and a chief scientist function allows the government to be able to shape policies that accelerate what we call moving from lab to market. Now, why does a nation need a chief scientist and a minister of digital policy, research, and innovation? Well, Cyprus's first university is not more than 35 years old. In fact, we established it in the early 90s. As you understand, we don't have institutions of the age of what exists in other organized countries, or let's say more developed nations who have institutions like a Harvard or like a Berkeley or like a Stanford, Oxford, etc. So as we're moving very, very fast, we have a role that basically holds all of the portfolio related to the government. That's the deputy ministry. And then we have the role of the chief scientist, who acts very much like the CEO of the research and innovation ecosystem. So the chief scientist acts as the chairman of the National Research Innovation Foundation, and then he also acts as the chairman of the Interministerial R&D Committee of the government. So basically, both roles span across all ministries. Now, from a technology perspective, given the role of the CTO, the role of the chief scientist is to support the actual deputy ministry with all of the digital governance, the transformation, the modernization of the entire agenda the government has, and last but not least, develop, as we say, the bilaterals, the agreements between other nations that will actually advance Cyprus' state for research and innovation. As this is a role that is, looking outwards, not just within a presidency, it's basically supporting a vision we refer to as Cyprus Vision 2035. The chief scientist acts as both an advisor to the president and to the deputy minister.
Wow, amazing. Couldn't say it any better. Unbelievable. Very impressive. Demetris, before we jump into our current times, what really kind of inspired you back, if we go back 20 years or 30 years, and what really inspired you to say, this is the path I want to take in life, and led you to be in the position where you are in now?
So first of all, let me say that my education started in the U.S. I went to Arizona State, studied computer science, and what I enjoyed when moving back to Europe was, this very applied learning that we do have in the United States in schools, right? The hands-on that develops. Since then, I've had, an opportunity and a career of really moving into corporations like Oracle. The last corporation I actually worked for before coming to back to the government and serve the president was AWS. At Oracle, at some point of time, I served as an executive for the channel, managing the ecosystem and the digital transformation across EMEA and Asia Pacific. Now, one of the things that I really enjoyed was, working with customers and governments in building technology and solutions until the date came where I had the opportunity to serve my own country, right? So it's a very different thing when you walk every day as a citizen and you're frustrated, be it border control or how you actually submit your taxes or the health system, right? But to be able to be in that position to really bring all of your experiences across the last, 20 plus years and really have a piece of paper where you're orchestrating, strategizing, and designing a system that will future-proof, a life of the future generations to come, and at the same time create new jobs while, improving healthcare, is something that was, very appealing to me, and one of the main reasons that I returned back, repatriated from the UAE, where I used to work as the industry strategist for AWS, to take this position.
Amazing. I've been reading a lot before we connected about Cyprus and how Cyprus is thriving to be, and it is actually started to make a mark as a hub for technology, as the new Silicon Valley of Europe. And, Cyprus is known for its beautiful weather, great food, beaches, safety, and I would say tax laws extremely friendly for business owners and everybody else. But such a transformation where that small piece of land, a beautiful piece of land, it's also turning to a tech hub, which will attract investors, innovators from all over the world because of other things that makes it easier to do business in and to operate out of Cyprus.
So thank you very much. I think we started with a vision, right, to develop Cyprus into one of the safest, I think, places to live, work, and do business in. And each part, I think, each ministry has its part in really pursuing specific actions and strategic elements of a plan to materialize that vision. From a research and innovation and a technology perspective, which I think are closer to what you've actually described, Bob. What we've done is we've laid the foundations, but at the same time, what we do is very different. I mean, countries sign MOUs, countries, put plans, strategic plans, but they don't execute, right, to actually get there. So we started by designing the system with the incentives. We look at the incentives I think within every presidency. But what makes things different is that we actually know where we're good, where we're not, where we actually have opportunities to improve, and which partnerships we need to develop for us to move forward. So as an example, after taking my role, I've identified that for us to really increase our research excellence, we needed to forge a few bilaterals, working with some of the world's, I think, most advanced research organizations or institutes. We developed an MOU with Japan. We have one with the UAE. We have one, for example, with Israel, and we're developing more. I was actually in Australia, just came back from Australia. People ask me, what's up in Australia? I said, well, these guys, they're actually so good in some parts of medtech and health tech, they've actually even created an artificial heart, right? So being able to really work closer to such institutions and understand the entire ecosystem or innovation services that could actually be harnessed by us not spending billions of dollars of really creating the same thing could be an eye. So for us, as we move, we basically have a strategy identifying the top research nations where we want to actually work together. We also have a strategy which outlines and takes in mind the most advanced technology countries, and through that we develop. But where are we today? You talked about Cyprus being the Silicon Valley.
Yes.
We're not the
Yeah.
Silicon Valley. We don't aspire to be a Silicon Valley because that's not going to be our strength. But what we can be is a very strong hub in the region where we could actually facilitate and unlock how value is trapped. And when I talk about how value is trapped, many companies, startups, they actually often develop, a solution, have an MVP or a USP, and it's tailored to one market, right? And they want to enter another market, be it Europe. Now, entering a European market requires a lot of compliance to rules, regulations, compliances. So the question mark is, which is the most suitable partner for you as a country to help you validate your product, help you really look at, all of the administrative compliance issues, and at the same time, allow you through compatibility to enter that single market. Now, you may often go to markets like a Germany, like a France, like others which are more regulated. You can also go to Cyprus, which is much more agile due to its size, for you to pilot areas. Now, and take an example of Japan, right? A Japanese startup or a UAE startup, they're often more introverted by nature, having the opportunity to basically pilot their value proposition in the Middle East or in Asia Pacific, but at the same time have a subsidiary that could also pilot that value proposition and test it in the European market, creates a competitive advantage. Now, people often, when they think about this opportunity, they often think about how big is the market. Well, the European market is the second largest market in the world after the United States. Its current addressable market is about 19 trillion euros. So the market is sizable. The fact that you have an opportunity to penetrate a market like that is a big opportunity. And then there are other value propositions. Did you know, for example, that by opening a tech company in Cyprus and how do we call it, complying to the criteria, becoming an innovation company, you are allowed as an entity, or an entity is allowed to be able to participate in Europe's R&D budget. That's $800 billion a year just in R&D,
Wow.
right? Plus
Wow.
that, right? You are also allowed to participate because you're considered a local company, right? You're also allowed to compete, right, onto competitive innovation grants. I also chair the National Research Innovation Foundation, which provides that opportunity to companies. We actually
Amazing.
we actually give up to 1 million euros equity free of funding to companies who innovate, either at the business model or either at technology. So
Well, so basically, as a innovative company involved in science and AI, that starts, that operates, registered and operates out of Cyprus. Obviously, yes, the criteria and all of that matches all the criteria requirement that, Cyprus, requires. You'd have access to grants from the European Union.
the European Union and Cyprus, and it's not limited on science and AI. It could be agrotech, it can be food tech, it could be fintech, it could be game tech. Actually, we are actually attracting in the island a lot of fintechs, a lot of companies that are in gaming. Actually, we're number two in Europe when it comes to gaming companies. We're number four in Europe in terms of size when it comes to shipping and the shipping registry, number 11 in Europe. So these huge corporations that are into ship management are moving. So are now companies that are into building solutions for read tech or for ad tech, martech, etc. Yes.
Unbelievable. Would you say, your strategic geographically location of Cyprus is a bridge between, because you in Europe and literally hop, skip, and a jump, as we say in America, to the Middle East, to the Gulf. You're right there. You pretty much an hour flight, an hour and a half flight, 2 hours, maybe max, I think 2 hours. It depends what part of the Middle East. So would you say Cyprus become the bridge for technology between both, for Europe and and the Middle East?
That is actually the situation today. That is actually what we're building on to really facilitate and make this value proposition much easier. And let me elaborate on this. You have neighboring countries, be it Egypt, Jordan, Lebanon, Israel, they're much
Yeah,
closer, less than an
yeah.
hour. Then you have, the furthest you would have from Cyprus is the United Arab Emirates. So Dubai is about 3 hours, 20 minutes from Cyprus. Now, what is important here is that due to the strong MOUs, memorandum of understanding that we have in specific areas with various of the countries, this basically sets a framework or an operational, let's say, type of a boundary, let's say, type of a field that makes it easier for companies or startups that are operating in one specific area to actually facilitate between Cyprus and the UAE across. Now, what does this mean? This means that if a company in the UAE who's a startup opens a subsidiary in Cyprus and they serve their customers through a local data center or through local solutions, to them, right, to their customers, they're still one company. They can actually offer customers across Europe, across UAE, for example, in the Gulf, the same area. So these type of strategies are what we're seeing right now. Many companies leverage for them to bridge the gap between the two different markets, the GCC market, Gulf country market, right, and then the other one, which is Europe. And companies are now building, specific structures, specific areas to do it. Some others, big enough in gaming, they tend to have, hubs, for example, in Netherlands, in Prague, in Cyprus, and in the UAE. The Cypriot market actually, the Cyprus one is the one that really attracts a lot more of the personnel for reasons, as we said before, right? Be it quality of life, be it proximity, be it I think the all-round area. But the other thing that is really, I think, an enabler is that we do have visas, either digital nomads or the startup visas or the company visas, that allow companies to really mix and match talent. So you can actually bring in talent from Europe, right, from any area. It might be a lower cost European country, and you could also bring, for example, higher Cypriot talent, or you could also bring and match, your top researchers from India, from Japan, from Singapore, from Israel, from the UAE, and you really have an operation there that could really work. So besides the bridge, that's the regulation and the policy, you need the enabling foundations, and I think those enabling policies for the workforce, for the mobility is actually there.
You mentioned something about Cyprus being the second in the world for gaming development. So does Epic have an office there? Which is the biggest gaming company here in America.
I haven't seen Epic in the list. I'll just make a correction. I said second in Europe, right? But yeah,
Yes.
there are many others. There is Wargaming, there is My Games, there are many other gaming
Yes.
companies there. Yeah.
Amazing. That's definitely a big, massive market. It actually leads in technology, the music business behind it. Like, this is what really kind of innovates or supply the innovation of what next to be and how music being consumed and all of that. The gaming business, believe it or not. I'd like to talk about a subject that it's been overhyped. I guess I don't know if that's the right word or not, but you get on LinkedIn, it's all about AI. You get on social media, it's all about AI. If you watch the news on TV, I don't know how many people do. Everything is social media. Everything's about AI. And is the world ready? Are we going too far, or are we misinterpreting really AI, or is the technology is moving extremely fast that we no longer have a grip on it? You told me a story earlier. I'd like to share it. I'd like you to share it with our audience here at Entrepreneurs in Tech. But first, I'd like to kind of really dive into the AI, because as Cyprus is a hub for tech and development and startups and technology, and the AI is all over the world. And you are a world traveler. I don't know how long you stay in Cyprus or not, but you're always traveling and you're always exposed to a lot of new innovation in AI and science.
So thank you. Thank you for asking this question. I also happen to be the chairman of the National AI Task Force. So the president who's appointed by the person who's appointed by the Council of Ministers to actually let's say, modernize our strategy for 2025 to 2030. So let me start by why did we actually bring together a committee rather than outsource the development of strategy to a consulting house or to one individual. What we realize, right, is that there is a lot of hype about AI, there is a lot of misunderstanding about AI, and there are a lot of myths out there about what AI can do and cannot do, right, and the level of readiness it does have. But at the same time, we also realize that the tremendous potential of this technology and what it can actually bring to humans, right? I mean, if you so one needs to obviously balance between speed, effectiveness, and at the same time impact, in a way that basically we harness the technology for humanity. So for us at the National AI Task Force, we have a task force that bridges together leading academics and researchers in our country, industry experts, foresight and visionaries, and at the same time legal experts, so that we build something that isn't just all about public service. It's not all about industry. It will actually bring a balance, because these two communities, or I would say ecosystems, need each other, and they need to be able to coexist in a way that they can really embrace and leverage the value. Now, when asked the question, right, what will AI do for us? What AI is already doing for us, it's actually democratizing information, knowledge, insight, and how we actually, experience things in our life. Now, this has a transformative impact, and it can potentially, right, render obsolete entire business value propositions of companies. Most people nowadays, right, when they look someone up, they look him up in ChatGPT and not in Google, right? Most researchers, most researchers right now, right, when they actually want to look something up, they will actually use a tool called Copilot, or let's say ChatGPT for an initial scan, right? But what that does really is that it really brings you information, and you really don't know if that is copyrighted, if that is true, if that's validated, or what the quality is. However, right, there's risks, and those risks will always be there. But at the same time, if we focus on the benefits, the ability to be able to really identify crime, financial crime, identify, for example, problems in healthcare, identify, for example, solutions or problems that we could actually, tackle, scientific problems that could really help us really solve, I think, some of the hardest challenges we have. I mean, could we could we, for example, extend longevity by 10 to 15 years in the next 20 years? I think with AI we have that possibility of doing it. Could we really get to a point where we really can, design and develop 3D organs, and create smart type of organs that can help us, as part of having artificial organs for a transplant? Yes, we can. We already see organizations like the Monash University in Australia, with its ecosystem, that has an artificial heart. In essence, it's a mechanical heart, but it's an artificial solution, giving a patient, X number of months until, a transplant is there. So what I'm trying to say is that for us to be able to really harness this very big engine, which we call AI, we need to create the right type of highway, right? It's like you take a Viper or a Ferrari and a Lamborghini, and that's a very powerful car, and you put it on a one-lane street that only can cater for 80 miles an hour. The thing you get is going to get a lot of accidents, a lot of people injured, and a lot of other consequences. However, if you design the highways and you design a system in place, you actually can move, I think, in a coordinated manner. And that's what we've seen, for example, other nations like the UAE do. They've actually designed systems so that they can be AI first. But that takes design, strategy, execution all in one. So what we're busy doing in Cyprus right now is to identify these parameters, these strategies, these boundaries that will help us enable basically the usage of AI safely, with the human in the center, right? And making sure that we create value first for humans, right? Then for the economy, and then help the future generation prosper.
One of the biggest things right now been happening in the world, and I'm sure you know about it, data centers. Is Cyprus also on the forefront of inviting other big innovative companies to build their infrastructure of AI center, which will make it extremely attractive because obviously a lot of these centers, well, they need a couple of things. They need energy and they need water for cooling. And you guys right there. So is Cyprus on that path?
Yes, so let me say the following. Cyprus is actually working with other types of investors or hyperscalers to attract data centers, meaning I think cloud hyperscaler data centers. We do have our own data centers that are much smaller, but we believe that the data center strategy will actually help us accelerate, our digital transformation and our, eGov, let's say, strategy. However, we are very cognizant of, the dangers of super big data centers, right? I mean, a data center, Bob, an average data center may require 1.4 million gallons of water for it to cool down on a daily basis. Now, when you actually design a data center to be an AI first data center, right, to run AI workloads, that amount of water, right, shoots up. So we are at the phase where we're, yes, working with hyperscalers to come in, but we have a definite size. We're not looking for humongous data centers. We are actually looking at and designing and working with our European counterparts where we can share infrastructure for research projects so we don't end having latest spec data centers that are consumed for basic research or things that won't really materialize and add value tomorrow. So we have an AI project with Europe, right, with a partner from Greece called Pharos. We have other types of infrastructure projects that we're using through the European Commission, the shared infrastructure. We're building our own data center, and we're working on with the partners. But what I'm trying to say is that building a data center or leveraging a data center, also reflects onto the energy policy mix you have, right? So currently, we don't have we're not using hydrogen. We're not using, for example, what I would call fusion. So we are basically using solar and the traditional energy sources we have. So we're currently revamping our policy and our mix to be able to cater for this. But I think the most important element, size of data center, right, for what you want to achieve. So we're not over engineering, over designing. We know exactly how much we need.
Well, but you mentioned something that's pretty, I wasn't even aware of it. 1.5 million gallons,
Yeah,
you said,
yeah,
a day
yes.
to cool off a data center.
An average
And this,
an average data center, and
and I, they're building one in Abu Dhabi. I heard about it's about 10 square miles. OpenAI building it there actually. With in conjunction with the UAE government. So for such massive data center, is that water could be recycled or it's just going to vanish?
no, I mean, there's obviously many different technologies that can be used to cool down a data center. There's different types of architectures. It all depends on how it is designed. But I think the UAE has a very, they have a lot of experience in really operating these data centers. They're always at, the bleeding edge in terms of how to really, create that energy
Yeah.
for them, etc. So, yeah, I mean, there are specific, let's say, tactics, or I would say, strategies. The bigger problem we have is looking at an entire region. So imagine that last time I looked at some numbers, this was about 2 months ago. There were approximately, just in southeastern Europe, 500 data centers, something south of 500, right? Now, when you look at this looks at countries like Tunisia, Morocco, France, Spain, Italy, Greece, Cyprus, Egypt, etc., right? The amount of water, if we just look at it, from a computational perspective, would require about enough water that we could actually give to 15 million people. Some of these nations,
Wow.
some of these nations don't have that advanced technology or infrastructure to be able to cool a data center, right, much more effectively. So it's, I think it's an up and down. So it does require a lot of, I think, careful design. And what I would say, going back to our topic of discussion on AI, is most people think that, I got an idea, I'm going to bring AI into my business, just click here, right, launch a service, and it's done. It doesn't work that way, and that's why we're seeing that there's too many use cases according to the analysts that are actually failing because they're not looking at the technology. And our experience is, you start from the strategy and where you want to go. Do you want to really reduce cost and improve productivity? Do you want to improve customer service, customer experience? And then you start building the necessary teams, right? The teams around data, the data scientists, the AI engineers, and then moving onwards. And then you build teams that are actually really going to help change the business, right? Re-engineer some of these business processes, re-engineer and create some roles and really make the AI and the human plus, right, to coexist so that you can create value. And I think that's the work that needs to be done right now, and it is severely underestimated at the national level, at the company, the org level, and that's part of the work that we're doing right now with the committee is really creating that awareness.
AI, humanity is still needed. We just got to be clear of that.
Humanity is the driver, right?
Without it, there'll be no AI. And we cannot think of replacement. I know there's a lot of noise out there on it, and we talk about misconception of AI and all of that, but there's also a lot of fear, a lot of panic in the business world. And everybody said, hey, especially a lot of these young kids who's graduating from high school or about to graduate from high school in the next year to say, what do I do? AI going to take my job. So what should I study? What should I do? And, and I've been seeing this and hearing it.
Well, I think this is what we hear of it right now, and I think there's a big debate: is it a myth or is it reality? I would say the following three items. The first of all of the analysts, be it McKinsey or PwC, etc., they've actually their surveys and their work has shown that people who do have AI skills will actually end up making more money than those who don't. Right? They also have shown that the balance between the jobs that will be displaced and the jobs that will be created is going to be in the favor of the jobs that are created. So what this essentially means is that the way we operate today and we work today will likely change, given that technology will enhance what we do. For example, an executive assistant or an administrator will probably be more of a digital workplace orchestrator or executive. And what does that mean? That means that they'll be able to use technology if they master it to create, I think, more value for the company, right? Instead of being
Correct.
an idle admin for one executive, right, and you do traveling expenses and it takes you, ages to go through them, right, and really manage that calendar. Well, if you could do that much faster and at the same time you could focus on really prepping briefings for your executives, and you could do it for more than one executive, you could actually create more value. I've recently, published an article, an article of mine in the Philadelphia's newspaper, where I talked about 20 jobs of the future that are created with AI, right, and where value is created, which some of these are going to be more value added than the others. There is a lot of opportunity out there. The question mark is, how do we actually help people understand that AI is a tool that, if used correctly within the organizational context, can help us advance, I think, our companies and support their mission, but it can also create more work-life balance, a better work-life balance. Because if I just take this last piece, right, 2004 is when Greece had actually won the Euro in football, right? Since then, the amount of data has actually increased by more than 18,000 times. Guess what?
Wow.
We still have 24 hours in a day. We still have 7 days in a week. And we still have plus or minus 30 days in a month, right? And the amount of work we can do as humans hasn't decreased. It's only increasing. So we need some sort of technology to help us, I think, be more efficient, effective, agile. But at the same time, if this technology can help us create something more meaningful, more impactful, save more lives, right? Create more prosperity, more opportunity, give us a better quality of life with our loved ones, while at the same time, still create the possibilities for us to retire earlier, right? Why should we wait until 65, 67, 70, wherever, right? Why couldn't we retire a lot earlier? Then why not? Now, the question mark is, where and what do you invest? Do you want to become a prompt engineer or an AI compliance specialist? That's the type of discussions we need to start having with youth, to saying, hey, you know what? You will be seeing some change, but let us show you how you harness, how you tame uncertainty, and how you create opportunity given the environment you have.
So, as a chief scientist and an advisor in AI and to the presidential, and to the president, obviously, you pushing the envelope and implementing AI in governmental offices, into school education.
Yes, we do have our strategy will touch, at a first phase, specific industries. Education is one of them. Obviously, finance is another. Obviously, healthcare is another, right? So we have prioritized, done our analysis and seeing which of the industries and the ministries are going to be prime candidates to leverage AI technology. However, let me demystify that AI alone is not just Gen AI. It could be computer vision. It could be robotic process automation. It's a set of technologies that are out there. And what we're doing is we're now looking at what would be those use cases or categories of use cases that would actually create value, right? And I mean, if you think about it, using robotic process automation, we can relieve, for example, for every robotic process, we could relieve about 4 to 5, let's say, civil servants that are just buried to manual work, and they could add more value elsewhere in the system. At the same time, introducing computer vision and AI in healthcare diagnostics can help us look and identify cancer, right? 10 months earlier, right? With a diagnostic capability of 98.4%. So that creates a lot of opportunity, because first it reduces the actual backlog, or the actual, let's say, overload on a system where people are diagnosed and it's too late. B, it actually helps us prevent all of those cases, hopefully. And C, right, it also creates an optimized, let's say, ability of the state to be able to deal with the cost of medicine, right, to deal with all of these chemotherapies. So we haven't implemented yet, but what we're saying is simulating such use cases really showcases that you can actually create substantial value with AI, and you can actually capture it. Hence, what we're saying is prioritize certain types of use cases that will actually be piloted, and then slowly roll out. So we're not going from day 0 to day 1, right? Changing everything, putting AI everywhere, disintermediating humans. We're doing exactly the opposite. We're actually creating a phased approach, putting the human in the center, and actually creating that opportunity. And I actually have a pilot right now going on within my team that I can share some more information on.
Oh, amazing. Yes, why not? Absolutely. Advice for a lot of the younger generation who's struggling to choose, and some of them want to take the path into AI, whether they are in Cyprus or in the States or Europe or the Middle East, anywhere. An advice coming from somebody who not just established and well educated, well rounded, and also reach certain positions in the governmental side of Cyprus that are extremely important and sensitive, because you lead the science, you're the chief scientist, you're involved in advisory position to the president himself, and also advisor on AI for Cyprus. So
Sure.
you could really, an advice from you will be extremely valuable for a lot of these younger entrepreneurs, and also people want to kind of carve their path in life.
Well, let me start. I think I'll summarize everything in four short points. I'll start with the first one. STEM meaning science, technology, math, right, and engineering is an important area of study, because it really helps you understand much better, right, how some of these tools will work, right, and what the future may bring. Today we talk about, GPU chips and companies, right? In 5 to 10 years' time, we'll be talking about a completely different technology called quantum AI
Correct.
that will actually be maybe 1,000 times different, right? So by building the foundation, a strong foundation based on STEM, you are future-proofing yourselves, right? It doesn't have to be you becoming a mathematician or a statistician, right, or an engineer. It's, building that solid background to fuel that. The second one is to actually foresee where you are passionate about, right? If you're in healthcare, understanding the basics of AI, of prompting is important. I think that last time I checked, most of the world's, I think, top medical schools, be it Stanford Medical School, be it, for example, the John Hopkins or the NHS in the UK, they have actually made fundamental AI courses for medical doctors a priority. Why? Because we are going to be seeing in the medical field AI in diagnostics, AI in
Correct.
preventive medicine, AI in prescriptive, etc. If you're an engineer, again, I think route number one, STEM, and developing into an AI engineer could actually be, I think the right area to be. If you are going to be an entrepreneur, I think understanding the business applications of AI, and there's many diplomas out there that are, complementary to your bachelor degree, which could be mathematics, it could be, the computer science could be there. But what I would say as the following is, it all boils down to what is your passion. If your passion is healthcare, you need a strong foundation on AI, but after medicine. If your foundation and your passion is engineering, prompt engineering, right, and engineering, AI engineering would be the passion. But I think it all starts and ends with entrepreneurial, let's say, innovation, what the business model is, and how could these technologies add value, particularly because AI is not the end of the road. It's actually the beginning of the road, and we're in the beginning. But getting educated on how do you look at a business plan, how do you develop how do you develop a business model, how do you scale, is number one question, and then number two is which would be the most appropriate technology for it, right? And AI happens to be today, I think, the most prominent one. We're going to see some new technologies coming up, but I would say, start with the simple things: AI prompting, data science, and building that.
Amazing. Great advice. Really, thank you. Demetris, really, it was a pleasure and honor to have you on the show. And thank you for making the time. I know you're extremely busy between your everything, all the hats that you wear in Cyprus and your traveling schedule. Again, it was a pleasure having you today on INNOV-8 Presents, Entrepreneurs in Tech. And any last words would like to give us? I know we can go on for hours. You have so much information. I would say you're literally like a walking encyclopedia. So much information about AI and science, and I'm really truly enjoying it.
I would say the following 3 points very briefly. Cyprus has an IP box of 2.5% and an R&D discount of 120%. Those of you who want to create a second, I think entry into one of the world's largest markets, think of Cyprus, right? It's a fantastic getaway. If you don't think about that and you still want to visit us, as I think Bob said in the beginning, great food, great beaches, great proximity. But we'll make some time to actually, have a meeting with you and see how we can help you with advice into, I think future-proofing your business model. It's not I think just a gesture. It's a commitment, right? Everybody that visits us, we would like them to leave with some value in their pocket, right? Either that's good food or good ideas for their business. Thank you very much, Bob, for hosting me. It's been a great pleasure being with you guys.
My pleasure. Count me in. I probably will set up another office day, another tech office in Cyprus. I mean, such an opportunity. You guys heard it first here, and INNOV-8 presents Entrepreneurs in Tech from the man himself, the chief scientist, Mr. Demetris. He's inviting you. You're an innovator. You have a tech company you want to start, or you want to visit, you want to just have a vacation, or you want to also a place where you can enjoy, feel like you're on a vacation every day, but still work, and I would say accelerate in that field of AI and innovation, because as their strategic location in Europe, close to everywhere, that makes them even more valuable to be there.
Allow
and
me,
plus their friendly tax laws. Please.
allow me to just add on this. If you actually go ahead and you do meet those criteria, we have a program called Pre-Seed that allows entrepreneurs, if they basically win, the allocation, to go from idea to build their first MVP up to 120,000 euros equity free, right? That's no equity,
Wow.
no equity request. That's money for you to actually take that idea, build it right, go out and test your demo on your solution. Should you wish to try that out, give us a try. Thank you very much.
Amazing. I mean, how could you say no to that? How could you say no to that? This is the best invite to any country in the world I ever heard of. Sir, thank you again, and it was a pleasure having you.
Thank you very much. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to share INNOV-8 Presents Entrepreneurs in Tech podcast. And if you're joining us on YouTube, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Until next time.